As we head into the weekend, let me clear something up really quickly. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Is a reference to the movie Animal House. Animal House. Zach, a lot of people on yesterday's show they called us out in the comments like, it was the Japanese that bombed Pearl Harbor, not the Germans.
Got it.
It's a movie reference. You know that movie, haven't you?
I reacted, and I didn't catch the reference. I've never seen Animal House.
Really?
Nope.
Tell me something else that doesn't shock me today. Speaking, I probably could have banked on that. All right. Topic for today. It's another list. Yesterday we did a list show. Today we're going to react to kind of a list.
A prediction.
Yeah.
If you will.
CBS Sports put out an article that took all the teams in the SEC and gave us their over-under predicted win total. And Auburn's is at 7-5, Zach.
Mm-hmm.
Or 7.5.
7.5 wins. Yeah. And so CBS's Will Backus projects Auburn to go 8-4 in 2024, which I think the average Auburn fan would be happy with that. So let's go over some of the toss-up ones. I mean, obviously Alabama, A&M, Cal, New Mexico, and Arkansas. He has Auburn starting 4-0, which I think most people will. I don't think that's a crazy take at all. The first toss-up game is when Oklahoma comes to Jordan-Hare Stadium, and he has Oklahoma winning that game, which right now I think I agree with him. If I had to pick that game right now, I am picking Oklahoma, but also I understand Oklahoma has a lot of issues that the national media is kind of ignoring and the SEC is kind of ignoring. But all in all, so far starting 4-1, that's probably the most likely outcome for the Tigers if you had to predict it right now.
Yeah. It's an Oklahoma team that won 10 games last year, beat Texas. They have to replace their entire offensive line.
Yep.
And they have a quarterback in Jackson Arnold that started the bowl game and looked he looked great in the bowl game. But that's it. Bowl games. And what's the drum that I have beaten for a long time? Bowl games don't matter unless they're playoff bowl games. So I just don't know how much stock you put in that. But he does. He has Oklahoma beating Tennessee and Auburn in those first two conference games. The number of wins is 7.5 for both Auburn and Oklahoma. But he's got Oklahoma winning that game at Jordan-Hare.
But he has Oklahoma beating Tennessee and Auburn, but he has Oklahoma going 7-5. He's saying to pick the under for Oklahoma. Yeah. So that's wild to me. You have them beating Auburn and Tennessee.
Yeah.
But you have them going under 7.5 total wins. That's an interesting combo to me.
He's got them losing, and it is a tough schedule now. It
is.
The league did Texas more favors than it did Oklahoma in scheduling this first year.
Are you shocked?
No.
Are you shocked by that at all? No way.
Not at all.
No way.
Yeah. Texas, at Ole Miss, at Missouri, Alabama, and at LSU.
It's brutal. That's tough.
It's tough. And think about this, Zach. We've kind of talked about this before regarding Oklahoma. It's a 10-win team a year ago in a different Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
But if that offensive line doesn't come together, and if that quarterback struggles, especially in some of these environments, including Jordan-Hare Stadium, if you flash forward 6 months and tell me Oklahoma went 6-6 or 5-7.
5-7 would be wild. 5-7 would surprise me. It almost makes you think do they lose against Houston early in the season? 5-7, but 6-6, or 7-5, I think is totally reasonable for Oklahoma, especially if Auburn beats them at Jordan-Hare Stadium.
Take those 5 losses he lists and add Tennessee and Auburn. That's 5-7.
That's fair.
So that's feasible. And if they lose one of those other games, then it's, that's rough and things start to get a little untenable for Coach Venables.
Yeah, I think Tennessee's underrated. So I think Tennessee wins that game, which is why I think another thing that benefits Auburn is I think if Oklahoma loses to Tennessee in Norman the week before they come to Auburn to play in Jordan-Hare, I think there's even more pressure on the Sooners because they'll start 0-3 in conference play if they lose to Auburn, because they get a bye week, then they'll lose to Texas. So it's a lot of pressure. You get a new league, you go 0-3 after all this buildup of you finally coming into the SEC. You become a joke. You become a meme in the college football world, if you start 0-3 in your new conference. So we'll see. All the pressure's on Oklahoma.
That's right.
He has Auburn losing to Georgia. I don't think that's a shock right now. I think Auburn will lose in Georgia. The next toss-up, if you call it a toss-up, a loss in Missouri. But then after that is where he's got Auburn winning the next 4 games leading up to the Iron Bowl, winning at Kentucky, beating Vandy at home, UL Monroe, and beating Texas A&M at home, which that Texas A&M game is probably the second most important game as far as for Auburn's season in regards to overachieving in 2024. It's Oklahoma and Texas A&M to me.
And interestingly, he has Texas A&M losing that game, though the number for A&M, number of wins, is at 8.5. Now, he says take the under. He thinks A&M will get to 8, but the Auburn game will not be one of those. Jimbo Fisher won 8 games or more, one time at Texas A&M? More than 8 wins once? He may have gotten to 8, but to think that Mike Elko, with all the guys that left after Jimbo left, is going to get to 8 wins against that schedule. I mean, they got Michigan. No, they don't. That's Texas. That's Texas, Brad.
You just can't stop talking about Michigan.
That's what it is.
They have Notre Dame. Talk about Michigan for a second. They've got Notre Dame, but one of the wins that he has for A&M is Missouri, and that's weird to me.
Yeah,
I think that game's in College Station, so maybe he agrees with EA Sports, and it's just like that is the best home field advantage in college football, which I think we all kind of roll our eyes at, except for Texas A&M folks. But yeah, I just I don't know. I have a hard time seeing them do that. It is a pretty favorable schedule at Florida, Arkansas, Missouri, at Mississippi State, at South Carolina.
Yeah.
But yeah, losses Notre Dame, LSU, at Auburn, Texas, and I think they lose to Missouri, but we'll see. Yeah. We've talked about Missouri a ton. You got to prove it at some point.
Yeah, I agree. And look, Mike Elko's team, I think, didn't Duke beat Notre Dame last year? Mike Elko's team beat Marcus Freeman's team a year ago. Yeah, again, it's a very different it's a different team in College Station. They're making the switch from the Jimbo Fisher way to the Mike Elko way, and tons of guys left. I think there are a lot of questions to predict a team to win between 8 and 9 games.
It's also Elko's former quarterback that will be at Notre Dame that, he beat Notre Dame with a year ago. So that's kind of, that game's got storylines written all over it. Speaking of storylines, it's important to look good, Brad. Yeah. And I feel like I'm looking good with this hoodie today.
Yeah, when I saw you today, I said, I don't think you've ever looked better. And it is, it's in part because of your Rowback hoodie. Somebody commented on yesterday's show that they ordered a long sleeve T-shirt from Rowback, and they were very happy with it. And they used our promo code Vice20. So Rowback.com, Vice20 at checkout. Make sure you use our promo code. You're going to get 20% off. They have polos, they have hoodies, they have quarter zips, they have T-shirts, long sleeve tees. It is really high quality stuff. You're going to feel great. You're going to look spectacular, just like Zach. You can look like Zach. I know how many of you watching now have been like, if I could look like Zach, my quality of life would increase dramatically. And now's your chance. You could order that very hoodie.
That's right.
At Rowback.com. Use promo code Vice20.
Of all of these picks by CBS, the 8 wins, the 4 losses, and those losses to Oklahoma, Georgia, Missouri, and Alabama, which specific game do you have the biggest issue with? Which single prediction?
I guess Oklahoma.
Okay.
I guess Oklahoma, not to, repeat ourselves too much, but because of how early in the season it is, I think second on the list would be Missouri, because Missouri has a lot of questions. Now, they have Brady Cook back, and he's a top 5 quarterback in the league, I think. But they're replacing a lot at other positions but you'll know more about them by the time we get to Columbia. I think there are big question marks at Alabama, and there's some key games early in their schedule, in the first half of their schedule, that could really send their season one way or the other. Yeah. But that's the last game of the regular season, so a lot of those questions will be answered by then. So I think it's probably Oklahoma.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about at Kentucky for a second. CBS Sports, Will Backus has Auburn winning in Lexington, and that's a big one. That's a big one. When you look at it through the lens of what Auburn needs to do to go over 7.5 wins and get to 8, Kentucky is in the top 3 or 4 games as far as, you know, those toss-up games that we call them, that Auburn's got a chance in. And they're interesting to me because I think Kentucky's a little overrated, but it's away from Jordan-Hare Stadium, and we just haven't seen Auburn be consistently good on the road against teams that I think are in the same tier as them. And I think Kentucky's probably in that same tier, that second or third tier in the SEC as far as talent and, you know, just overall like well-coached teams. But we talked about this either earlier this week or last week, Brad. We're like, Kentucky's really benefited from an SEC East that's been bad, and a Tennessee and Florida programs that haven't been what they've been historically over the last decade. And Kentucky's taken advantage of that.
Yeah.
That's that era of the conference is gone, and they may feel that. I think there's a real chance that they feel that this year. Yeah,
there's not a lot of you could finish second or third in the East, and you could tout that. That could be your promotional piece, or you could start well, and you know you're at bowl eligibility by the middle of October, and that's great because you start getting into November, and more attention goes to basketball. And if you don't finish well, but you make a bowl, look, it's a consistently good season. It's the Dahlonega Mine Train at Six Flags. It's not spectacular with really highs or you know, high highs or low lows. It's just kind of there.
What's the name of the ride?
Dahlonega Mine Train.
If you had to compare that to a movie that I haven't seen, what would it be? Where the highs aren't super high and the lows aren't super low, but maybe you're done. You're like, okay, I didn't waste my time. I don't know if I'm doing that again, but it wasn't a waste of time.
Batman Returns.
Okay, I've seen that one, but okay. Got it.
All right,
got it. Way to go, me. Way to go, me. Backus at CBS Sports. You know, Kentucky's over/unders at 6.5, and he has them going under. 6.5 wins. So I mean, we may see a new era of Kentucky football when it's like, oh, okay, like I actually got to feel the SEC now.
Yeah,
that may be coming. Wins against Southern Miss, South Carolina, Ohio, Vandy, Murray State, and Louisville. Your best win on that group of 6, I guess, is South Carolina.
Yeah.
With losses, Georgia at Ole Miss, at Florida, Auburn, at Tennessee, at Texas. That's tough.
Yeah, and 2 of those first 5 are Georgia and Ole Miss. So you've got a brand new offensive coordinator. You've got a brand new quarterback in the Georgia transfer, Brock Vandegrift. And so, I mean, there's no time. There's no time to settle in and prove very much, because you got Georgia sitting there in week 3 and Ole Miss sitting there in week 5.
Yeah.
So I think, and also as it relates to Auburn and the importance of that game, depending on how those first 7 go, if you're 5-2, if you lose at Georgia and Missouri, well, you got a chance to get to 6 wins before the month of November by beating Kentucky on the road. Vice versa, if you have lost to Oklahoma as well, if Auburn's lost to Oklahoma, Missouri, and Georgia, a loss to Kentucky puts you at 4-4. You're at 500 going into November. So I think those are probably the 2 extremes. You know, there's a chance if you go in and beat, and if you do go in and beat Missouri and you're 6-1, you got a chance with that Kentucky game to build some.
You're bugging.
National,
you're bugging a little bit.
Yeah,
are you bugging right now?
I'm saying if that happens, you got a chance to build national momentum, not just
I'm watching the bug unfold just like right before my eyes, and it's special.
Yeah,
it's special, and I appreciate that. You know what else is special, and I appreciate?
Please tell me.
MyBookie.ag. Look, we've all had a weekend trip to the casino with the boys canceled at the last minute, whether it was family stuff or just life happening.
Drives
MyBookie.ag You don't have to worry about that.
Mm-mm.
You don't have to worry about that. They've got, live interactive slots with progressive jackpots. They've got live dealer action if you want to play some blackjack, all from the comfort of your own home.
Mm-hmm.
They've got the sports book too, where you can bet on all these lines that we're talking about now, these win totals. Be sure to check that out. They've got everything you could possibly want. So head over to mybookie.ag. Use promo code NEXTROUND. You'll get some VIP perks as well as some extra money to wager with when you use promo code NEXTROUND. That's at mybookie.ag.
Never any slot shaming with mybookie.ag. So,
sure.
Yeah.
Sure. All right.
Yeah.
All right. It's anytime we hit the schedule from a different angle, it's hard for me to not make everything about the Oklahoma game.
Mm-hmm.
And like, even when you're talking about the Kentucky game and it's like, well, if you beat Missouri and you're 5-1 or 6-1 or whatever, it's like the Oklahoma game is just so big. It's so big. And like, I think A&M is big too. It's just so late in the season where a lot of the hay will already be in the barn.
Yeah. A lot of questions are answered. You don't have as many unknowns. There's not much left to prove from a proof of concept perspective. You could still, you still have goals you can reach, but I mean, like, who you are by the time you get to November, pretty much.
So let's take Texas A&M out of this because you'll say Texas A&M. But of the wins that CBS Sports predicts Auburn to land in 2024, Alabama A&M, Cal, New Mexico, Arkansas, Vandy, and UL Monroe. They also predict A&M. We're leaving them out of it.
Yeah.
Of those wins, which one of those games is the most important in your mind?
Well, I'm tempted to say Kentucky because of what we just discussed. It can
be home games.
Home. Okay.
So A&M, Alabama A&M, Cal, New Mexico, Arkansas, Vandy, or UL Monroe.
I'll go Arkansas.
Okay.
They lost their starting quarterback, so they have a transfer from Boise.
They're going to be terrible, right? They're going to be awful.
They could be. Their win total is at 4.5. And this rider picks the under. So they could be. But their first 3 games are Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Oklahoma State, which is
they're losing
a challenge right off.
It's at Oklahoma State, right?
Yeah, it's in Stillwater. And then UAB. Bobby Petrino is back as the offensive coordinator.
Sure.
Brand new quarterback. We don't know much about him other than that he was a starter at Boise. And, something tells me, I just have a feeling that the Boise to the SEC transition doesn't always go smoothly.
Wow. What are you basing that on? Anything specific? Any kind of
plenty of recent specific experience. But it's the SEC opener. If, you do what you should do against Cal and New Mexico, you're 4-0 with that win.
Yeah.
And and now you got a 0 on the right column going into that big game against Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Auburn would have to play less than its best, and Arkansas would have to play at its best to win that game. But it's the conference opener. You get some momentum from that win. You're 1-0 in the league. You're 4-0 overall. And then it just, like I said, it just amplifies the Oklahoma game.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Would you disagree with that, or is that what you'd say too?
I think Cal is tougher than Arkansas.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes it more important or not.
Yeah.
But I think for the sake of conversation, I'll say Cal.
Sure.
Because I think that's going to be a tougher game than Arkansas. I think Arkansas stinks.
Yeah.
I think they stink. I mean, there's a chance they lose. This rider has them losing or beating Mississippi State. That may not happen. They may not beat UAB. I genuinely don't know. I think they're awful. They're going to have a really hard time scoring points, I think. So
who wins?
By the nature of it, I think the storylines around the Cal game are far more interesting, and their offense is probably going to be better.
Which is interesting because they're more of a defensive team than an offensive team. But who wins
Arkansas
more?
They're going to stink.
Who wins more games? Please don't put one coat of sugar on it. Who wins more games in 24, Arkansas or Cal? Can I give you the Cal schedule very quickly? Just roll through it.
Yeah.
UC Davis at Auburn, San Diego State at Florida State, Miami at Pitt, NC State, Oregon State at Wake, Syracuse, Stanford at SMU.
Cal
wins more than Arkansas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know where those come from, but maybe. I don't think they combined for 10.
Well, they beat Syracuse. Who else did you say? Hold on. Cal football schedule.
They'll beat UC Davis.
Sure.
San Diego State.
I don't know if Arkansas wins 4. So
yeah.
UC Davis. I don't know anything about San Diego State. I know nothing about it. I think they've got a shot against Pitt. I think they've got a shot against Syracuse.
It's 4.
I think they've got a shot against SMU.
It's 5. I don't, but I think SMU beats them. Like I say, I don't get to. I don't think combined they get to 10 this year. That's an interesting little question.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Yeah, the total wins by Cal and Arkansas. If you said it at 9.5, I would take the under on that.
Yeah, I think I would too.
Yeah. All right, I think about does it for today's show.
Yeah, next time we're with you, it'll be July. How about that? It'll be the month.
I'll also be a whole year older, Brad.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You got some big birthday plans?
No.
But
the birthday is happening this weekend.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
And if you're looking for ideas, maybe you watch Animal House.
Maybe. I'm heading to Trussville tomorrow to work a card show. So I'm doing that.
Okay.
I'm doing
nice.
that. That'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
So if you're in Trussville, be on the lookout. You might see Zach.
Come buy some cards. It'll be great.
That's good. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody. Remember, until next time, everyone has vices. Make sure Village Vice is one of yours.